maybe go for a walk in the woods. Mount Doug Park is very nice for going for walks. And I don't know if we can get up to the top of it or not, but we'll give it a shot. I have no idea which one's which. It looks kind of like doesn't look like anything goes that way. Well, I guess we will go Whitaker this way. So this week at Toastmasters, I gave a talk on Shinrin-Yoku, or forest bathing. So this would not be a great choice for that because we are right next to the highway. And with Shinrin-Yoku, or forest bathing, you want to remove yourself from the noises of traffic. Get away from the city noise. But when we get higher up, if we get higher up, we may get away from that noise. They also like you to be near the water. The ocean is just past the parking lot, the Mount Doug Beach. But we'll just keep walking here and see if it gets more peaceful. It's nice in the dark forest when you get the rays of sunlight lighting up parts of it. So part of Shinrin-Yoku is to use your senses, and touch is one of them. So you go and you feel the bark, the rough bits, and that keeps you in touch with nature a little bit more. This one's got much rougher sections to its bark. It's much sharper, much sharper than the other one over there. If you follow it up, it goes a very, very long way up. And another part of forest bathing is taking the time to sit down and kind of just meditate, like not force your thoughts or anything, but just sit and just let your body relax, let your mind relax. Sense of smell is quite active here. So here we have moss that we can touch, and it's quite damp because we live in the Pacific Northwest rainforest. And you're supposed to notice things. So using your sense of sight, we can see that this is quite an interesting fallen log. There's the roots. There's plenty of green moss on it. And it stretches off over to there where we can see sunlight dappling the leaves. Also notice the fungus growing, helping to turn this old stump and old log into nourishment for the rest of nature. This is a different type of tree, and consequently it has different bark. So it's smooth lines going down, and I'm pretty sure it's a cedar. It goes up there. Ferns are plentiful in the woods. and they're very, very green. Well, Penguin and Penny have found a nice little cave made from a fallen log. And they said, be aware of the noise that you can make as you walk along and you're scuffling through the leaves, because this is fall and leaves rustle. So use your sense of hearing and pay attention to things like rustling leaves. So take time to notice. This isn't meant to be a fast walk. It's meant to be a little stroll where you take your time and you notice things. Like, isn't it interesting how that old tree starts off at the right and then bends towards the left and then straightens up? And then over here we have another big tree, dark wood versus the light wood, and it goes all the way up to there. And here's an interesting trunk. So take time to observe these strange little formations that you might find. And again, remember to take your time, sit down when you can, maybe even climb a tree if that's your thing. But take time to just observe, and again, touch the bark. And remember, this is fall, so enjoy the sound of rustling leaves. And this is why dogs are not welcome in the lead guided walks, because dogs are not really conducive to forest therapy. Are you, Rover? And a very, very important thing to do as you're spending the time observing stuff is to not forget your tiny little friends just because they sat down. Remember, head counts when you're going for a walk in the woods in a group is an important thing. So now we should really take account. Penguin's 1, Penny's 2, Rover's 3, and I'm 4. So we have to have 4 of us all the time. And although Shinrin-Yoku says that you should be touching stuff out in nature, Penny would advise you to use some caution, especially around fungus and mushrooms. You want to make sure you wash your hands because there's spores and stuff on them. And Penguin says don't be in too big of a rush when you're doing your walk, because see, just below him is a tiny little toadstool. So you have to slow down to actually notice these kinds of details. Now supposedly moss grows on the northern side of trees, which in this case would be this side, which is pretty close to facing north. But the thing you have to be aware of is sometimes the moss grows all the way around the tree. But In this one here, again, the moss is pretty much on just the northern side. So when you're in the woods, especially in British Columbia, we have a lot of forests, you want to make sure that if you're out by yourself that you don't get lost in the woods. And the other thing that we learned in scouting is look back the way you came occasionally so that you'll recognize it when you're coming back. It's not so important on such a manicured trail, but if you're in the middle of the woods, you want to make sure that you can find your way back out. In the health of the forest, dead trees like this one here, that's a nature tree, and it's good to leave them standing because they provide homes for the animals. And as you can see, it looks like there's quite a few woodpecker holes. But you don't chop these down because the forests need to have these sorts of trees.